The Sports Blast with Ashish Sharma.
He's like Rain Man with these stats, man. I don't know how you whip that out.
Brian Roach.
You really wanted Josh Hamilton? Too many on-the-field issues.
David Pollard.
He does throw for touchdowns, but he doesn't throw for a lot of yardage.
And Mark Lozelle.
I also think he might have had some chicken and beer before he had that press conference.
Wrapping up your week in Boston sports every Wednesday night, 7 to 9 p.m.
All right, welcome back to the Sports Blast, 1460 WXBR. We have joining us now on the phone lines Dan Cagen, Bruins beat writer for the MetroWest Daily News. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing great, guys. How about yourselves?
We're doing great over here. Glad to have you on board. Dan, I wanted to start by asking you about Louis Eriksson. He got his second goal against the Red Wings on Monday, and have you liked what you've seen from him so far this season?
I've liked it a little more these the last couple games. I thought early on it's been a transition, still is a transition really for him. Coming from the Dallas system where they kind of let you roam around a little bit more, I guess, as a winger. Whereas with Julian, they want him to just kind of go a straightforward up and down, stay in your system guy. But he's looked a little better. I thought these last two, kind of a fluky goal on Monday, but he's definitely starting to show some signs that he could be, the guy that we all kind of expected him to be when he got here.
Hey Dan, it's Dave Pollard here. It's pretty early in the season right now. You can't really obviously put a heartbeat on the Bruins to see how they're going to do for the rest of the season. But in the early goings, what are some of the things that you're looking for the Bruins to improve on?
Yeah, well, right now it's the hard talk is would be finishing. So many chances on Monday. I mean, that was a game you really felt like they were in control of most of the way. A lot of offensive zone time, and they only get 2 goals past the backup goaltender. 5 power plays, a minute 54, 5 on 3, and they just can't finish. They got, a guy like Aguilera shooting high, and those are things that'll come. They have, the top 6 forwards. It's a pretty good group. They feel pretty confident there. You would expect that to continue in other areas. I mean, defensively, they've been, for the most part, solid. Not too many breakaways. Tuukka's been great. Penalty kill's been real solid. It's mostly just, kind of finishing on these chances that are, just kind of bugging them. It's a problem we've had for a couple of years here. We've seen for a couple of years here. So it'll be interesting to see how that comes together as guys get into more, get to know each other a little better. Talking about Eriksson and Ginla, the third line, some new pieces there. So that's kind of the main area right now. I think, would be a little bit of a concern.
Hey, Dan, Mark Loisel here. The Bruins still have a little room for improvement, I guess you could say. So who is the guy that, in your opinion, needs to step up for this team to get the offense back on track a bit?
Ginla, like I mentioned earlier, he's kind of got he's had the most shots on the team. I think it's 19 shots on goal through 5 games, no goals, 1 assist. But he's that's just, one guy. I mean, you look at, Bergeron has had the 1 shorthanded goal in the first game. Not much sense. He's still kind of, I think, feeling his way back a little bit from those injuries. I guess if it's one guy, maybe one of those 2. But it doesn't seem like there's too much concern, especially about Bergeron. They know, obviously, what they have there. Aguilera, he's got the pedigree with Calgary, and coming through so many slumps before. But it would probably be one of those 2 if you're looking at one particular person that needs to maybe step up a little bit. Would probably be in those areas.
Do you think that maybe Brad Marchand is a guy that needs to step up as well? I mean, he's played, in my opinion, pretty sloppy in the first couple of games. Few unforced turnovers, and he's on the third line right now. Do you expect him to stay on the third line until he rights the ship, or what do you think Claude's going to do there?
Yeah, I would think he'll be. I should have mentioned earlier. Now that you think about it, I was kind of focused on Ginla, but yeah, Marchand definitely. I wrote about that the other day, and he's been a little bit all over the place. It's been a little funny how he's kind of lost his way in the preseason, even going back to that first game, and it seems to carry over to the regular season. And I would imagine that until we see him really have a strong game, getting shots on goal and maybe even a goal or 2 finishing. I thought he was better on Monday night, playing more up and down and not kind of going all over the place in the offensive zone and in the neutral zone too. So yeah, absolutely. If he can get going a little bit, I would imagine he'll be back up there with Bergeron and with Eriksson soon enough. They're not going to stay with Smith for too much longer, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Dan. And just going back to the power play, it was 0 for 5 on Monday. You mentioned the 5-on-3 that they had for an extended period of time in the third period against Detroit. Do you think it's, I know you said it was finishing, but do you think there's anything else, like technically, that the Bruins are doing wrong, or was Detroit really keeping the chances not to the caliber that the Bruins wanted to get?
Sure, yeah, I think they were overpassing a little bit, absolutely. And it wasn't just that game. We've seen that before. They certainly have enough weapons, and I think they have some guys that are on the point now that are a little new to doing that on this team. Krug obviously did in the playoffs, but this is kind of the first regular season. Boychuk's back there now because we've got Chara in the front. So it's a little bit of an adjustment. I think they're trying to fit in some new pieces there as well, guys into new roles. So the overpassing has been definitely an issue, guys. Not taking shots when they have the opportunity to, because a Krug and a Boychuk, their two best weapons are their shots. Especially Krug is the accuracy, and Boychuk, we know how hard he can shoot. So once they figure that out a little bit, you would imagine we'll see some better results. But power play's been a struggle for so long here. Maybe we won't either. So.
Do you think that Krug's going to sort of become a guy who's... I know David Krejci's your quarterback on the power play, but do you think that Torrey Krug is a guy at the point with that accurate shot? I mean, he puts the puck on net more than I think any Bruins defenseman I've seen in at least recent history. The guy pulls the trigger. Do you see him continuing to play a big role on that power play? Yeah, and I think he's probably their most natural guy at that position. Krejci can do it. But it seems to be he's maybe a little bit better on the wall. But Krug, it's what he's done for so long, going back to college, going back to the AHL, and he just seems like a natural fit for that kind of position that they've been looking at for so long. We go back to the Weidmans and the Derek Morrises, the Joe Corvos, the Caberlet, of course. Yep.
And guys that just haven't fit that role. Krug has everything that you'd want there. Maybe a little smaller, of course, but. He has the accurate shot. He can get it on net so well. It's a pretty hard shot, too, especially for his size, and he can move the puck. So he's got what you want back there. It's just a matter of getting all the pieces together and making sure that he makes the right decisions. Sometimes he can be a little cautious maybe with the puck, and sometimes you just want him to just go with it and play naturally. And I think that'll come as the season goes on. Like I said, we're 2 weeks into this thing, and a month from now, 2 months from now, we'll see where we are.
All right, Dan Cagen, Bruins beat writer for the MetroWest Daily News. Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to come on with us today.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Anytime.
Thanks,
all right, thanks, Dan. All right, guys. So, yeah, Dan Cagen talking a little bit about the Bruins there.
Hockey.
I like what he said about Brad Marchand and Torrey Krug there. I mean, they're two guys to me that they're on the flip side right now because Brad Marchand hasn't played that well. He's been really sloppy. He's had tons of unforced turnovers, in his own zone, and that's something that the Bruins they don't do it. It's Claude Julien must have been pulling his hair out when Marchand made a few of the plays that he did. So I don't think it's a surprise that he's down on the third line and Riley Smith's up on the second line right now. But you got to expect Brad Marchand's going to be on that second line long term with Patrice Bergeron and Louis Eriksson. Yeah. He's the guy that you want on that line, and you want him producing at a high level somewhere. We've seen it from him before, so he can do it. And I think he's really just the guy that he's the one person right now. He's got to step up.
I agree. And Brad Marchand is such a spark plug on this team. He's basically the Dustin Pedroia of the Bruins. When he's got it going, it seems like they've got it going completely. And, I don't think it's going to last long. I agree with you. I think he's going to jump back up onto that second line, onto the Bergeron line, and really make some noise. He's just slumping right now, but it shouldn't be anything that lasts too long.
Yeah, I really think that, the addition to Louis Eriksson and the addition to Iginla will outweigh in the end over Tyler Seguin and Nathan Horton, who is injured right now.
Oh, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I stand by what I said a week ago when I was talking about that trade. Louis Eriksson's a huge step up from Tyler Seguin. I do not like Tyler Seguin. I don't like his off-ice antics, and I don't think that he plays a Bruins style of a game.
Yeah, he's not that physical.
He's not physical. He doesn't go into the dirty areas. He's going to be perfectly fine scoring 60 points down in Dallas where they're going to let him stand in front of the net and snipe all day long. Yeah, he'll put up 30 goals, but I guarantee you, with the system that the Bruins have up here, we are better off with Louis Eriksson than Tyler Seguin.
Same reason why they traded away Phil Kessel.
In that trade, I feel like Eriksson's gold, but Riley Smith has stepped up big. I think he is a very key part of this trade. You know, he's like a Chris Kelly, Daniel Payet kind of player, scrappy player, you know, fights for loose pucks, finishes checks, has great passing, great stick handling. He just does what Claude Julien wants him to do.
Yeah, and he's a guy that actually has to watch out for his job when Carl Soderberg comes back. I mean, and that speaks to the Bruins' depth. He's a young player, Riley Smith, and he's coming up from the Dallas organization. But he's on that third line with Chris Kelly and Jordan Caron right now. And what you're looking at there is when Carl Soderberg comes back, there's a decision that needs to be made there. Who do you take out? Do you leave Soderberg on the bench? Do you take Riley Smith out, or do you take Jordan Caron out? Because Caron, to me, has had a great beginning of the season. Chris Kelly, he's improved that third line. He's a veteran guy on that third line with two young wingers. But I think that right now, the odd man out, unfortunately, is Riley Smith, and he has played well. But I think he's the odd man out in that situation.
So, it's a tough call.
Just an update: the Red Sox, Jake Peavy has just loaded the bases with a walk, and Jacoby Ellsbury made a diving catch to probably save a couple runs.
Oh wow, that's fantastic.
No. There's only one out in the
inning.
Not that
that's
Austin
good timing.
Jackson is now up. With the not that
that's
good timing.
0-0.
0-0, yeah.
0-0. Not that that's good timing of any sort, but we do have to take a break. So I know all of us are going to jump into the other room and watch this at bat anxiously for the next 4 minutes until we come back. I'm sure you guys also want to check it out, so don't go anywhere. 1460 WXBR.